my weapon all along!
I am Couch Goop and welcome to my top zombie split screen games list. We're going back a little bit. We're going to keep it to PlayStation 4 and 5. We don't go to PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360 territory, but we do look at some slightly older games. Resident Evil 6 being one of them. What an abomination. But the actual split screen mercenary mode is pretty alright. Okay, it's the start of the list. Remember, we've got a few games coming up. This isn't an unhealthy split screen zombie game, and it does look okay still. What sort of happened with it was that they just put too much into the moveset. You can jump, roll, dive, roll around on the ground. You find yourself doing stuff you don't want to do and craving those traditional tank controls that kind of made early Resident Evil games famous. This one is straddling like all manner of somersaulting and punching. You can do a swing round, quick shot, and the UI is different for every character. It doesn't stop baffling you, this game. It's pretty strange, but it is still offering that tried and tested classic mercenary setup, which is essentially an arena. You start in separate zones. You have to kind of hook up and keep killing zombies in the combo chain system, which is notified by that number on the top right there. We are on a 24 combo, and if this was dropped, there would be shouts around the room. It plays very well with the idea of a loadout. Not as many characters as previous mercenary modes, but a really solid mix of weaponry and characters from that storyline that feature in the campaign of this game. The campaign in this game is so awful. It beggars belief that it even made it out of the gate as a Resident Evil game. But they have returned to their roots and rescued things, but they certainly haven't returned to their split screen roots, this being the last of the Resident Evil games to feature it. Code Veronica, I actually haven't played and have been prompted to a number of times in the comments, so it's not on here and I'll get to it. Apologies submitted. Okay, I have thrown in an old school Housemarque game here. Housemarque are the people that make Returnal, and this is of course Dead Nation, a game that came out very solidly on the PlayStation Network. I don't know if it is available physical, and I would love to see a copy of this limited run or something. It never came out on a lot of platforms because of Housemarque being, you know, an in-house studio almost. It was exclusive to the Sony systems, and it was a very good PlayStation 4 game. It has featured on the channel, I think on a zombie list I did in maybe 2018, so it's long overdue another look, and of course completely dirt cheap, and does not like working on a 5 very much. Very few games do actually give you that warning that says, you know, you might experience some features on the PlayStation 5 by using this software, but this one was just a few crashes here and there. I don't think it was any major issues, but the long and short of it is it's a very good twin stick. Housemarque have some incredible twin stick heritage. This is also quite story rich with a really cool campaign and a great protagonist, Tropy. He's like a heavy metal biker guy, and all of the weapons and armor can be bolted on and upgraded, including stuff like clip size and just out and out damage. Quite good on the variety of infected as well, giving you some sort of mimicked bloaters and even hunters and runners, and featuring a great barge mechanics or stamina meter as well, so you can whack them or just run straight out of a tricky situation. Cars blow up, grenades can be delivered. There are really cool mist effects and quite ahead of the game lighting for an indie game of its age. Big explosions, power-ups everywhere, a currency system, and an awesome voiced protagonist, so not a lot to dislike here. Where would I put it in the Housemarque hierarchy? Well, it's not as good as Resogun, but it's better than Matterfall, and it's couch co-op as well. Matterfall was a single player game, so you've got a lot to get your teeth into, and it is very difficult, offering really hard New Game Plus modes and just a wealth of unlockable replayability.
Michael.
Okay, it's How to Survive 2. I know nothing about the original of this game, but I know quite a lot about this one because it is pretty cool, and it's a 4-player, and it's got a great drop-in, drop-out system, and it's a very deep action role-playing game with massive NPC involvement, getting settled, getting a settlement, and dealing with loads of varied zombies that are littered beautifully throughout this map. It's a very cool open world aspect and a great sort of discovery difficulty curve that's pitched really well, with looking for cool loot in dangerous areas and coming up with ideas about how to take down big encampments of zombies. I enjoy this game a lot, and its crafting system and gathering mechanics are very familiar and easy to get your head around. It's got a lot of depth really for a game of its size and cost. It sort of leans on that Dead Island close quarters, blades, bats and hammers combat that we saw in both Fallout and of course some of the earlier Dying Light games. It does become quite difficult if you do venture into areas that you haven't prepped for, zombies that take more than just a bow and arrow to deal with. The more people that you put in, the slightly easier the game becomes. You have more to worry about, and of course the screen is completely static. There is no rotationary camera angle on that other stick like you'd see in a game like Divinity Original Sin, and having like more than 2 people on this can get a bit of a nightmare if someone like gets run off screen or is dying somewhere that can't be seen by everybody else. So just be wary of that. It's perfect though as a duo game. Late game on this, when you've got all of your digs sorted out and your vault and some advanced weaponry and some amazing looking armor and some of the horde construction and evil zombies that come after you is nightmare scary, and it's got a day and night system, mist systems as well, very atmospheric. Talking of atmospherics, and of course a game that's very recently just appeared on Game Pass, preview only it says, my god, wonder what the hell they've taken out of that, but it is 7 Days to Die, and it has been around for about 14 years, and it has sold 13 million copies I think. What a little triumph, and what a fantastic split screener. Very deeply embedded in the survival game model, meaning crafting and construction takes nearly as much as a front seat as the impending zombie doom, and as the name suggests, you're kind of timed, it might even be in real time, that you've got these 7 days to get your crap together before the big horde comes. But the map itself, being open world full of wildlife, derelict houses and cars, is also littered with zombies, and a fantastic day and night system. This is Ark really, but with zombies on quite a different visual level, let's just say that. I mean, every time I put it on, I'm like, God, my Christ, because the TVs, they don't hide this stuff anymore very well, do they? I mean, I remember when you'd be on a rear projection and something like this it would smooth a lot of these edges out, but now it's just all broad daylight. And talking of broad daylight, we ran out of it, and but of course my colleague hasn't got any clothes on yet. It's a difficult game to start from the beginning. This, it really does take 200 hours is easily put in to 7 Days to Die. It's one of the best survival zombie open world split screen games on the market. Again, narrow window, but this one really does put the boot in. I think its units sold and the sheer time it's been around and the fact that it's just come on to Game Pass means that it's definitely doing something right, and the rightness comes in the form of its massive open world and crafting system and just brilliant zombie gameplay. For some COD, it's time for some COD, and which COD is it? Which COD are we looking at? We're looking at COD 3, Black Ops 3. Yeah, and the reason this is on a horizontal is because there was no vertical option on CODs back then. But this is surprisingly good because I was all ready for some jank. We were both sitting there thinking this is going to hurt our eyes and it's going to feel dated. As a zombie model in itself, you know, it's been years. They've changed so much up now. It's just a different thing entirely. But yeah, it was really good. Black Ops 3 is actually naughty with its zombie maps. It's the naughtiest of the DLC and paid content. You've only got one map with the base game, and that's this one. And I sat there for like 4 hours waiting for the update to kick in, thinking that I was sure they gave us more free maps, but no, the paid are amazing. There's like 11 of them. One of them's got like a dragon and a full-blown medieval castle on the thumbnail. So I'm miffed and been let down with map variety on this front, but this map, the noir theme and the characters, voiceovers, intros, variety on zombie that get pumped in is kind of one of the best zombie maps out there, I think.
Anyone seen the ammo around here?
It wasn't just rose-tinted pleasant memories, because this map comes with that train system and going to those different destinations. And of course it's got that weird turning into the beast mechanic where you get that winch and those plants are everywhere. You've got that insecticide. Some strange stuff going on in this game. I wanted to talk performance because we're getting into the realms of games that are getting boosted because this is getting emulated on a PlayStation Pro equivalent. What I mean is there is no 5 injection here on a boost level, but it thinks it's being played on a Pro. Absolutely phenomenal frame rates on an old game like this. I think it's 2014, but it was so damn smooth. Nothing bothered it at all with what was going on screen. It's meta systems as well, with all of that stuff with fabrication. This is the start of some of the meddling around with those perks and potions and having all of that back-end development that you were putting onto your characters. The complication only got worse from here. So now we got Black Ops 4. We got 2 COD games right next to each other, and this one did a hell of a lot better on the map front, with 3 of some of my favourite maps of the entire series, including that Titanic and that Blood of the Dead, which is just a crazy ass map. This one with the Colosseum at the beginning is pretty incredible also, and we get the chance to see it on that horizontal split. This one comes with vertical option. Performance-wise, we're looking at a flawless game. It is smooth AF all over the shop. I cannot stress how cool it is playing these games on systems that quite obviously have more than enough power to handle these games on split screen properly. When we were looking at it on base game PlayStation 4s, we would see all manner of raindrops and hell know what when stuff came charging onto screen, but this is just an absolute pleasure, and that's why I put the list together and put some of these older Call of Duty games on, because they're cheap and some of them damn good. Black Ops 2 seems to be the most nostalgic with my friends and peers, and that isn't available on current gen or previous gen systems realistically. So 3 and 4 was something I looked at a bit closer to see where they ranked, whether or not either of them had any major flaws when it came to putting them on. The PlayStation 5 even, they might not run correctly or updated, but everything is cool. Just want to take the opportunity to say that Vanguard is not on this list because the zombie mode currently is being run into the ground by Activision. Call of Duty's back catalogue is now really where to go if you want an awesome zombie experience from, you know, the guys that put the whole thing together in the first place.
What is this mixed with? Sewage?
Perk and metagame wise, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 goes completely ham. It's too much. Like, you've got 4 potions to drink, you've got a class system, fabrication, crafting, specials on both buttons, loads of secret boxes and special doors and hidden weapons, and there is loads more than you need here for a decent zombie shooter.
Hands off the merchandise! This coat was crafted by Italy's finest tailor!
Oh my god, talk about repeat streak. You couldn't wait 2 weeks before putting Resident Evil 5 on another one of your damned lists, Coop. I think I've got a problem, yeah, it's not going away. Resident Evil has really turned their back on the couch co-opper, and it hurts. This is Resident Evil 5, and this is Resident Evil 5's Mercenary Mode Duo, by the way. You can have a versus, which we're not even going to open that can of worms today, but I don't know, 18 characters or something, all with different loadouts, some of the most scantily clad Resident Evil PCs you've ever clapped eyes on, the best weapons ever. Some of these enemies, you're trapped, we don't need to explain this again, but the longer you're in this hell pit, the more mad evil this game's going to get. A little bit like Risk of Rain, it just ramps up with mini bosses and major difficult enemies that get pushed in from random directions at any given time. It's a hell of a thing, and I'm so annoyed that they've taken it away from us on a split screen level. Maybe we might see something in the future from Capcom that kind of bowls the mercenary idea into something AAA and standalone. Again, a little bit like 6, the campaign on Resident Evil 5 was not too well received. I personally love it because of its couch co-op angle, but of course Resident Evil 4 and the mercenary mode on that game does stand out hugely. And for me, Resident Evil 5 and 4 are just like these great two games that are at two extremes. You know, one is quite a traditional Spanish vintage, the other one is just mental, no holds barred, colourful journey, shall we say, through some really off the wall locations and scenarios. Why is it such a good couch co-op zombie game? Well, it's got a great idea with infantry actually, and sharing it on the fly and switching it out on the fly also. And these maps are incrementally unlocked. Of course, some of the characters are, and their different outfits or loadouts. So you've really got a quite cool level of unlockable rewards placed around a really sensational game loop. And you get to just play as some very cool characters from the series and listen to their one-liners, playing as Barry, and just having an awful amount of fun on one screen. I don't really mind this slanted angle with the aspect ratio, and I think we would very much benefit from a current gen remake that was probably a pegged 4K 60 frames per second and a true split. Talking of 4K and pegged 60 frames per second, of course it is Cold War, in at the winner of this list with one of the best zombie modes to ever been churned out of that studio. Absolutely incredible. And of course it's the breakout mode that involves this sort of mad journey through a lot of open world maps and mini quests within them. It's a very difficult game to install. This game's 162 gigabyte, hence the reason we're looking at older footage from my channel. Check this out, and look at that UI over on the left hand screen. It wasn't even working when it first came out. Didn't bother me one bit. I reviewed this game in week of launch. It was one of the first PlayStation 5 games I ever bought, and I was knocked on my bum by this game's incredible performance on all levels. It was a brilliant idea as a new game model, but it was so cool to see these graphics duplicated on a single screen. It was like having two PlayStation Pros quite literally next to each other. The game stood up after 18 months of it being out on the market and, you know, being a relatively early PlayStation 5 release. Yeah, totally. And looking back on that year, we had stuff like Dirt 5 come out and Borderlands 3 go like PlayStation 5 upgrade. Everything was really good on the PlayStation 5 split screen scene. Kind of still is now, but I think we're waiting for some more juggernauts like this game. They've done an okay job with shoving in quite a lot of different maps. I'll give you the skinny on why I like this mode. Basically, you start in a randomized map that you have to complete an objective in, and then takes you to a different randomized map, and there's a pool of about 6 I think now. The maps are massive, and they come with vehicles, and they come with traversal techniques and mini boss zombies and kind of like side quests as well in them, and the objective of each map is always different. So there's a huge amount of cogs going off in the background on a random reroll system. It just means that every time you fire it up, you're never really sure what to expect, which is so different from that zombie train running around and going through the waves that you'd be really used to in the original series. It also does scale on difficulty the more maps that you traverse, meaning that you just up a level every time you jump in that teleporter. This mode is not going to go anywhere anytime soon, and the new Vanguard material with them just taking it to the next level on a microtransaction and paid content area is unforgivable, and this is where to go if you really want to enjoy a pure version of that original idea. I have been CouchQ, and I will see you down there.